Welcome to City Life. I'm Beverly Thompson. For more than 3 decades, Durham has celebrated its Tree City USA status and all the benefits that healthy trees bring to our community. But did you know that most of the trees in Durham neighborhoods will need to be removed over time? Joining me to talk about why and what you can do to help is Urban Forestry Manager Alex Johnson with the city's General Services Department. Welcome, Alex, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Alex, just last month your department rolled out a new program called Water into Trees. Tell our viewers about how that program works.
Well, Beverly, it's a donation program that's done directly through the water billing process, where you can either round up your bill by a set amount, whether it's $1 or $2 up to $5, or just rounding up so to the next dollar level. Or you could do a lump sum payment through your water bill to fund trees to be planted in Durham.
So it's a program that goes directly toward helping Durham get more trees or renew the tree population here in Durham.
That's right.
Well, how did you come up with the name Water into Trees? That is so interesting.
Well, trees provide benefits that go beyond just aesthetics and neighborhood greening. They actually provide stormwater benefits, and they make sure that the water that runs off of our city streets is cleaner than it would be without them.
Okay. So once they're collected, they actually go toward buying trees?
That's right. The funds that are collected are withdrawn once a year and used to purchase trees that would be planted in parks and in green spaces and also along city streets.
Okay. Now, one of the main reasons you're rolling out this program is to help counter the loss of trees that you're seeing in Durham. What is actually happening to those trees?
Trees are not immortal. They don't live forever. And the trees that make up the bulk of our green canopy over our urban areas are made up of individuals that were planted in the 1930s.
Wow, that long ago, huh? Yeah. So most of us don't realize that trees have such, well, they have finite lifespans, but most of us tend to think their trees are here forever. It's because they are older than us, it seems sometimes.
Sure, and they have such a physical presence. It's kind of hard to imagine the world being without them.
Yeah, that's true. So tell me, why should residents actually consider giving to this program? And why is even keeping trees important?
Well, trees provide a host of benefits. And I talked about clean water, but they also provide air quality benefits. They also reduce noise levels and light pollution. They provide habitat to animals and birds. They provide noise attenuation. They also increase property values and a neighborhood sense of place. So without direct support from the community, we're funded through the general fund to provide maintenance on the trees that exist. To replace the trees as they age out, we have some funds available to us, but it is not directly required of us to replant as we take them out. It's more of an option that if you want to support them, that's your option.
Okay, so people know that we love trees in Durham, and I don't imagine that it's going to be hard to get people to give to this program. But tell me, just in case I'm a person who wonders, well, why should I give to this program? Why should I support planting trees in Durham? What do you tell them?
Well, I try to explain to people that without trees, the city's going to be a lot hotter. It's going to be a lot noisier. It's going to be a little bit dirtier. And that without the support of individuals, the tree planting is only going to go to neighborhoods where funds exist to plant trees, where it's a priority for the neighborhood associations and the homeowners associations. This makes it a little bit more equitable for the entire city to enjoy a leafy green canopy over the streets into the future.
So this program is an example of how Durham is expanding its overall attention to trees. How is this effort a part of the Trees Across Durham program?
Well, the Trees Across Durham program was initiated as part of a strategic goal initiative with the city and the county.
Okay.
They both have goals to increase canopy, increase tree awareness, and as a result, the Trees Across Durham group got together and is working as a group to increase awareness of the benefits of trees, to collect data, and to come up with measures to describe the benefits of trees, and also to plant trees not just in the city but throughout the county and on parks and school grounds, and also to support the best management practices as far as maintaining trees by the landscapers and the professionals.
All right, so where can our viewers go to find out more information about your program?
Well, there's information on the Keep Durham Beautiful website.
Okay.
There's also going to be an insert in the water bills that go out this month. There's information on the Urban Forestry website, on the General Services platform. The information is getting out there. I think the Charge Ahead Durham, the Sustainability Office with the county, is also posting this information. It's very simple and straightforward to participate.
Can people call you directly?
Absolutely.
Okay, and how do they get in touch with you?
Well, you can call the General Services Department.
Okay, and we'll put that number up.
Great.
Okay, and also can they go to the website? Do you all have a website?
We do. The Urban Forestry page of the General Services website has information.
All right. All right, Alex, thanks so much for joining us. What an exciting program, and I hope it's a program people are going to want to get involved in and make a difference in Durham.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, and stay with us because after this short break, we're going to share some exciting news about a new online tool that will give you a new insight about your neighborhood. We'll be right back.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Welcome back to City Life. I'm Beverly Thompson. Have you ever wondered how your neighborhood compares to others in Durham? Well, there's a new online tool that puts information about your as well as other Durham neighborhoods at your fingertips. Joining me to talk about the new Durham Neighborhood Compass is Project Manager John Killeen. He's with the city's Neighborhood Improvement Services Department. Welcome, John, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Beverly. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So, John, the Durham Neighborhood Compass program just launched May 1st.
May 1st, that's right.
Tell our viewers a little bit about what that project is about.
Sure, yeah, I'd be glad to. Well, it's what's a neighborhood indicators project. So the idea is to take data that comes from the Census Bureau, the American Community Survey, places like that, and also local data that comes from our departments and programs here in Durham and Durham County, and present it for neighborhoods and neighborhood areas throughout the city and county to give a sense, like you said, of the comparison of one neighborhood to another or to the county average and things like that, but also to provide information that hasn't really been accessible before to people, whether it's residents using it for grant applications for the neighborhood association, or if it's using it to advocate for change to local leadership.
I was going to ask you who this type of information is targeted to, so anybody.
Well, yeah, that's true. It is really, it's an open public project, so the idea is to take all this information and just give it to everybody so that we all have an equal playing field in terms of information and knowledge.
So what are some examples of the type of data that you include in this particular tool, and why was this data chosen?
That's a great question. So there are 9 dimensions ultimately that are going to be in the compass. There are 7 that are available right now, and just a few of them are demographics, housing, safety, environment, economics. And within each of those, there's a range of, I'll say in demographics, for instance, there's basic core race, ethnicity information, but also information about age. So 2 examples I can make out of there that tell a bit of a story is that we have population under 18 and population over 65. So with all of the measurements that go into it, we've tried to pick something that says, well, it tells a story about a condition in a neighborhood that we can either act on in some way or just learn from. So with people under 18 years of age, we know that those are largely students, and they're people who we can channel more resources to in terms of student performance. but there also might be a greater need for child care and daycare. And then for over 65 population, there are also services that exist currently in the city and county to support that population. And there's also a way to then use that information to advocate for those resources being brought to a neighborhood.
Okay. So, yeah, I think you probably already explained this, but why is it necessary? Why was this kind of tool necessary? And it seems like a lot of that information may have already been online anyway. I mean, you'd think.
Well, a fair amount of it. So I guess let's say for the census, decennial census and American Community Survey data, it's provided publicly by the Census Bureau. All of the block group level data, though, which is the areas that we're looking at, they're neighborhood areas. They're that local scale, small areas. And up until very recently, a lot of that data wasn't very accessible. You had to have some, there are some technical ways to get it, or you had to have savvy with those programs to do it.
You couldn't just Google it.
You couldn't just Google it necessarily, no. The census makes beautiful applications, and they provide a lot of information through them, but it wasn't as accessible. And more than that, a lot of the other data that's in here, there are 40+ measurements now. More than half of those are measurements that come from our local programs, which have not been accessible specifically to public users. And departments themselves haven't always been able to look at records from other departments and see how it's spatially important. So when, let's say for instance, we wanted to say that in routing for Triangle Transit, they wanted to know also that there was a greater concentration of people over 65 years of age in a neighborhood where there's less bus service. They can do that now in the same place that, let's say, Public Works can look and see that there's not really good sidewalk service there too. So it's that overlap of programming, it's the overlap of data that hasn't been shared in the same place before that really gives it its power.
Awesome, awesome. So I know the mayor's poverty initiative is making use of it as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
About the initiative or the use of it?
The use of Neighborhood Compass in that.
Yeah, so this is a good example about how the power of this project really is in community uses too. So task forces that are working on the poverty reduction initiative will be able to use benchmarking measurements in the Compass. And so what we're trying to do with the Compass project is be sensitive to projects like that in the community where they want to know what they can track change with over time. So let's say with something median household income like that, you would have a data source that would provide a measurement over a long haul, like 10, 15, 20 years, you can see change in that. But let's say with some of that local data, we could look at a measurement for student performance or something like that, where we can see a change year over year, and then we could decide that we want to improve it by 5% over 5 years, something like that. And hopefully that initiative will be able to use the Compass for benchmarking like that.
So if someone goes to this program and they want to make suggestions on information they'd like to see included or anything like that, can they contact you?
They absolutely can. They can call me directly. They can email. Their contact information on the website, which is Compass.DurhamNC.gov. And we're always listening to input from all users. What could make it better, whether that's part of the way the application works, does the map do what it should, or is it about data itself? What can we measure that we're not measuring yet? So the process for developing those measurements is also on the website. And what we try to do is determine whether or not it can be measured first, where we get the information and how good it is, how often it's available, because we'll update this site once a year. And if we can use the data that frequently and it's of that quality, and it says a story too about neighborhoods that we believe is important or that the community believes is important, then it's a candidate for inclusion.
Great. So is there anything else like this in North Carolina or the U.S.?
About North Carolina's contributions in this realm, there's a really important one in Charlotte called the Quality of Life Dashboard. And it comes from about 20 years of a quality of life study that they've done with UNC Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, and the city of Charlotte. And we actually have acquired, the core of our web application was taken from an open source application that they created too. And Tyler Waring in our Technology Solutions Department has done a lot of work in making it more customized for the city of Durham and county's needs. But that's a great example of how it has been done elsewhere in North Carolina, and we've actually shared the product of that. And it's a great collaboration story too, because we've been able to learn a lot from their work.
So again, tell us how people can check out this new tool.
Sure thing, yeah. So anybody can go to Compass.DurhamNC.gov, and use the tool there and contact us through it. You can make reports out of all the information that's there for your neighborhood or for several neighborhoods. You can compare the block group areas to the neighborhood areas as well. That kind of gives us more of what we see our neighborhoods to be, those identities of whether it's Walltown or if it's Old East Durham or if it's Watts Hillendale, and see information at those areas and report on it. But you can also pull the data off the site too and learn from it that way. And if you are interested in doing research or checking out the distribution of values across the county, that kind of thing, you can play with it as well. And anybody who's interested in contacting us about the product or telling us how they use it, which is also really important to us, there is a survey link on the site. And the final question of which is, would you be interested in sharing your story with us about how you've used it? Because I think that the real value, again, in this product is that it's story-driven, and we're trying to tell stories about our neighborhoods. All of us really are in different ways, and data is something that helps us do that, and it sort of quantifies our human story.
Well, any closing thoughts about this? It's really exciting.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say it. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I guess I would say in closing that there are two things that really speak to the power of this, and one is longevity. If we can continue to make this project last over time, which is our goal, we'll be able to track changes very effectively, and we're doing a lot of work to standardize the way that we do things so that we're measuring it the same way now that we do in 5 years or 10 years. And at that point, we'll be able to know that the things we've done to make things better really did happen, and we'll have information that tells us that. And the other thing to say about its power and its real meaning is how people use it. So it's one thing that the city or county or other agencies might use it, but we're really dedicated to making it a tool that belongs to the community and community users, whether it's nonprofits, businesses, residents, or neighborhood associations. So the way that we're trying to develop it going forward is in partnership and collaboration with neighborhoods.
Great, great. John, thanks so much for joining us to talk about this new
It's
tool.
my pleasure. Yeah, it's great to be here.
May have to have you back as we add more dimensions to it.
I would love that, yeah,
Okay.
and be glad to do tutorials about it, anything like that.
Okay.
And that's another thing too, I'll say that neighborhood associations, nonprofits, groups of really any users who are interested in learning more about how they can use it for projects that they're working on, please get in touch, and we'll be glad to sit down and talk through how we can collaborate.
Great. John, thanks so much.
Thank you, Beverly.
All right. Well, that does it for this edition of City Life. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and watch us on Durham Television Network and on YouTube. I'm Beverly Thompson. Thank you for joining me to learn more about City Life in Durham.